There are more colors to life than just black and white. All we need is a change in perspective. Perspective is not only a psychological thing, but is tangible and can truly lead to different outcomes. Let me share my experience of how a life-threatening incident can be a life-making incident. Like most others, I was a regular, flat entity of the human system, leading a completely mundane student life, running in an infinite cycle of home, school, and sports field, where very few fortunate ones get the opportunity to see life in its multidimensional form. Last year, I became one of those chosen ones when I pushed way too far on my football axis and suffered a life-endangering brain hemorrhage. What followed were a series of events that led me to see and experience the fourth angle of the triangle. This was my and my family's first experience of how perspective can truly change what becomes of you. The doctors nearly lost me in the operation theater, but there was infinite belief in their capabilities, in science, and in faith, and I pulled through. Reflecting now, would things have been different had they all looked at the situation from the negative side of the axis? I believe most certainly yes, and not in ways that would have made it possible for me to be standing here today and sharing it with you. So here I was in the ICU with tens of tubes sticking out of my body, having no speech, left side paralysis, neither left-oriented sight, nor a feeling that there is a left world out there, or a world left out there at all. Wondering how I reacted to this? Was I overwhelmed, afraid, feeling helpless, hopeless, handicapped? For the first few minutes, it did rattle me up a little, but as is natural to every ardent sports person, this soon began to look like just another challenge for me to overcome and gain victory over. To pick yourself up, to dust yourself up, and get back on the field. A couple of seconds after regaining consciousness, my father asked me, "How do you feel?" To which my reply, almost reflexively, was, with time, I grew to see that the world would never be the same again. What most people would look at with pity and hopelessness or as weak was what we as a humongous family of well-wishers spanning over countries and continents viewed as an opportunity. This was going to be like a rebirth from the ashes, a new meaning, a new paradigm, a new dawn. These were my first few words after waking up in the ICU, which were written down on a whiteboard since I could not speak for the first 4 months of my journey. And they read, "I will be back soon," and here I am. This was my opportunity to rewrite my life and personality right from scratch. With a bit of effort, I could mold myself into virtually anything and everything I wanted to be. No doubt it was going to be a challenge, but then again, no pain, no gain, right? Of course, one could also view the situation as a burden, or in the most extreme of perspectives, a curse or a hindrance to normal life, or even as an unnecessarily harsh experience to teach oneself something. However, for us, faith and trust, confidence and belief, science and prayers, presence and absence, all gained a new meaning away from Oxford. Nearly a year in hospital, 5 brain surgeries, several seizures, tons of procedures, tens of super specialists, hundreds of tests and meeting several fellow patients later, I have come to realize that life is not only the positive and negative axis. There is more to see and experience than what meets the eye. To be standing here and doing this talk would not have been possible had I and we only seen the life and the world in black and white. So what did our different perspective enable us to do differently? Out of the tens of things which we did differently, I have selected 6 to share with you. First, we continue to actively involve several thousands of well-wishers all across the globe, whether directly or indirectly related to me, by distributing several hundreds of lapel pins. Each of these lapel pins signified the personality of the well-wisher. These were worn quite proudly by every member of this family of well-wishers as a symbol of their support and our sincerest gratitude to them. Interestingly enough, my father's friend's mother-in-law, about a 70-year-old lady living in a remote village in Belgium, wore her lapel pin quite proudly every day and used to go talk to her friends about how Smith is doing now. And they in turn kept me in their well wishes and positive thoughts, even though none of them have ever met me or even seen me. Second, we continued to maintain a lively atmosphere, or an atmosphere full of life. We made it a point to celebrate each and every special occasion there was on the calendar, be it my birthday, others' birthdays, festivals, or even a win in football or cricket. We celebrated everything in whatever small or big way we could, because after all, what is life but a celebration of its spirit? Third, we were always positive and looked ahead, because we strongly believed that the road to recovery had only one way, and that was getting better. I remember the doctors used to ask me every day, "How are you feeling today?" And my reply to them on every day was, "I am fine." And this was when almost nothing was working. The third was keeping the humor and going strong on the wit, even if it wasn't the best of it. After one of my seizures, my sister asked me, "How did it feel?" And my reply to her was, "It felt like an internal earthquake, nothing much." Even when I was getting diplopia, which meant seeing double, we used to joke that now, instead of a $1 bill, I would see 2 $1 bills. So hey, I was getting rich overnight. The fifth is not judging yourself for altered abilities. The loss of some abilities is not a disability. There is nothing lost and nothing gained. Yes, I may have been an ace athlete in the past, but if I cannot do it now, it does not render my life meaningless and my current existence a lost cause. I call this the law of conservation of abilities. Abilities can neither be created nor destroyed. They can merely transform from one form to another. And finally, sixth, understanding that you are barely a speck of dust in the universe. During my what seemed to be an eternally long stay in the hospital, I met and made friends with many of my fellow patients. Being in that environment, we realized that we were not only the only ones going through a difficult time, and that each one of us is having his or her own share of difficult times to deal with and overcome. We are but a small part of the big picture. So why make a fuss about it? Take it easy. To sum it up for you guys, apart from the science, skills, positivity, and all of that, it was the ability to view things in a different perspective than the rest of the world that truly gave me that extra bit of what was required to be where I am, be the person that I am, and am constantly becoming. It is what enables me to share it on platforms such as this, so that maybe the next time you find yourself stuck in a situation where every perspective around you tells you that it's over and you should give up, you can remember this and tell yourself differently, so that you can have the courage to view life in its umpteenth dimension and take it that way. After all, life is not a one-size-fits-all. Each one of us is meant to look at life in his or her own way in order to keep living life in its true nature.